Good morning, everyone. Today we are going to study about John Hutchinson's system of classification. Before starting the study of this system of classification, we'll have a look over the person John Hutchinson and his contribution in plant taxonomy. So John Hutchinson was a British botanist. He was associated with Royal Botanical Garden, Kew. He also served as keeper of Kew Herbarium for many years. He has published classification of angiosperms in his books entitled The Families of Flowering Plants. The classification underwent revisions for 3 times. Out of that, the first revision published in 2 different volumes, like in 1926 published dicots and 1934 published monocots. The second revised edition came in 1959 and the third edition came in 1973. The key features of this system are as under. The classification system of Hutchinson dealt only with flowering plants. He considered angiosperms as monophyletic group. Use of term phylum instead of division and subphylum instead of subdivision. Only flowering plants were considered. Phanerogams divided into phylum Angiospermi and Gymnospermi. The classification based on 24 principles relating to general habit, general structure of flowering plants, and about flowers as well as fruits. He considered dicotyledons primitive than monocotyledons like that of Bentham and Hooker. He treated magnoliales as a separate order from order Ryanales. His system was based on 24 principles, and out of that 24 principles, let's have a look over some of the important principles. Evolution is both upwards as well as downwards. This means herb can give rise to a tree. Similarly, a tree can give rise to herb. So both ways evolution is taking place. Evolution do not necessarily involve all organs of the plant at same time, which means any part, any organ of the plant is involved in evolution, but not all parts at a time. In certain groups, trees and shrubs are probably more primitive than herbs. Trees and shrubs are primitive than climbers. Perennials are older than biennials, and from them annuals have been derived. As a rule, simple leaves primitive than compound leaves. Free petals are more primitive than fused petals. Actinomorphic flowers are primitive than zygomorphic flowers. Hypogyny is primitive than perigyny, and from which derived epigyny. Primitive flowers had more stamens, whereas advanced flowers had fewer stamens. Let's see outlines of classification system. The group Phanerogams is considered for the system of classification and which is divided into 2 phylums. First is Gymnospermi and second is Angiospermi. Gymnospermi included naked seeded plants, whereas Angiospermi included all flowering and fruiting plants. Phylum Angiospermi again subdivided into 2 subphylums. Out of that, first subphylum is dicotyledons and second subphylum is monocotyledons. Then first subphylum Dicotyledons is further divided into two divisions. First division is Liganosea and second division is Herbaceae. This Liganosea includes all tree species and Herbaceae includes all herbaceous representatives, whereas second subphylum Monocotyledons further divided into three divisions. Out of that, first is Caliciferae, second is Coroliferae, and third is Glumiflorae. Let's see some of the merits of John Hutchinson's classification system. Out of that, the system is more phylogenetic than Engler and Pruntal's system. So this shows more advanced phylogenetic system as compared to Engler and Pruntal system. The placement of Magnoliaceae at the beginning is as per prevalent view, means most of the contemporary workers accepted placement of Magnoliaceae at the beginning. The combination of many characters for grouping plants is more logical as compared to contemporary systems of classification. Many large unnatural families have been split into smaller natural ones. For example, Euphorbiaceae of Bentham and Hooker's system is separated into Euphorbiaceae, Ricinaceae and Buxaceae. So thus the more natural small subgroups were developed. Then standards of description of this system was very high. Then along with this system they provided useful keys for identification of families. The classification of monocot is sounder and generally appreciated. Even keys to the identification of genera have been provided with this system. The derivation of monocotyledons from dicotyledons is widely agreed. The placement of alismatels at the beginning among monocotyledonous families found acceptance by contemporary scientists and workers. Detailed classification up to the generic level together with identification keys and description has been provided for some families in two volumes of the genera of flowering families. Let's have a look over limitations of his system. The system is more useful although because of providing the keys, but this system is not much useful for practical identification, arrangement of herbaria and for academic purpose. The division of dicotyledons into Liganosea and Herbaceae, which means Liganosea includes all tree species and Herbaceae includes all herbaceous species. So because of this it seems like the criteria used for this is habit only and it makes this system more artificial, and this is one of the drawbacks. Hutchinson did not provide a full explanation for a majority of his evolutionary concept, which means only 24 evolutionary principles he has considered, but instead he must have considered more than that principle so that it would have been more sounder, but because of only 24 principles this system do not find agreement with the present view. He derives angiosperm from a proangiosperm, means when he published his system of classification, he said that angiosperm is a monophyletic group and derived from a specific group of gymnosperm, specific genus of gymnosperm, but he failed to tell that from which plant angiosperms have been evolved. Then some of the natural families with monophyletic groups even separated into two families. For example, a big family Ranunculaceae is separated into Ranunculaceae and Helleborrhoeaceae. So this formed unnatural assemblage of different families. Then the family Cyclanthesi is related to laurels, but instead it was placed in roselles. This is also unnatural assemblage. Family Liliaceae of Hutchinson is large unnatural assemblage. So these are few of the drawbacks of this system of classification. Thank you.